So welcome to another episode of LA Fish Guys. It's been since 2005 that I got involved with jellyfish and started my business, Midwater Systems. Designed, developed, and patented the Jelly Aquarium. During that time, I've learned how to raise moon jellyfish. I've created products for raising the jellyfish themselves, tank-wise, which have become relatively popular with the public aquariums. I also developed the Jelly Aquarium 360, which was a circulation device that would convert a equally sided standard aquarium into a jellyfish tank. Through all this time, though, the jellyfish go-to has been the moon jellyfish, which is relatively easy to raise, relatively easy to keep, they don't sting, and the food isn't out of control, at least the type of foods. They're interesting. I think they're graceful as they pulse around the aquarium. Today, we're going to be adding some golden sea nettles or Pacific sea nettles to our weekly jellyfish tank. We had a situation arise earlier this week where the housekeeper pushed the exit grid out of place, and unfortunately a number of the jellies escaped out of the aquarium, and like fish, they tend to not do well outside the aquarium. So we ended up not having any moon jellyfish to go to, but our vendor did have, as I said, Pacific sea nettles. These are the ones with the orange and red and brown stripes in them with the really long, dangling, dangerous looking ribbon and lace tentacles. So come on with us as we're going to service that tank this morning, and we're going to add some of those sea nettles to this weekly aquarium service. So it's unfortunate we had about 2 dozen 6 to 8 inch moon jellyfish in the tank, and unfortunately the housekeeper bumped the exit grid out of place, which in turn allowed most of those jellies to flow out. So as I mentioned, today we're going to be adding the sea nettles. Now the sad irony is sea nettles eat moon jellyfish as part of their diet. So to a certain degree, the remaining jellies, which is quite unfortunate, will end up ultimately becoming food in the tank. So I'm going to start acclimating the new sea nettles here in a moment. We'll probably start first by servicing the tank, but I also wanted to share with you the updated filter system. Here is the sump down inside here. You see I've got it covered with insulated foam. We also have this 100-gallon container here, and that's hooked up to part of the Genesis Renew automated water change system. I've got 2 bins. This one draws water from the sump below and dispenses it. That would be the dirty water. This bin here draws from this container here, 100 gallons, and this replenishes the new water. And again, that's the controller there. I'll unwrap the filter system here in a moment, but part of this 100-gallon water container is refilling it every 2 weeks, because I have this unit set to do 6 1-gallon water changes every day. So in a 2-week period, I will go through 100 gallons of water. Now I've got the water out in the van, and what we need to do is move the van so I can snake the hose and the power cord across the pond for the filter system so I can refill the reservoir here. So I have a 100-gallon water container here in the van with 100 gallons of salt water that I need to pass through this hedge and then get over there to where the filter room is.
Behind the residence is a horse trail, which is where I'll park the van that holds the 100 gallons of salt water in it.
Use a sump pump to pump the water from the van to the container.
For water deliveries this size, I have a 100-gallon water container that I placed in the van.
And then of course I got to get power to the pump.
I'll use an extension cord to bring power out to the van to drive the sump pump.
No matter how well you roll up your cable or hose, it always does seem to get tangled up.
As much as I always try to carefully roll up the cord or the hose, it always seems as though it's a fight to get it to unroll for the next use. But I guess if that's the extent of my troubles, I'm okay with untangling it. And once I've got both the cord as well as the hose pushed through the hedge, I can then go to the other side of the hedge and pull both of those items through it.
Okay, so I've got the hose and the power cord pulled through the hedge right along the side here, and the hose is set up to the top of the container. I'll now go and plug in the power cord in the little greenhouse there and start filling the reservoir container. Alright, so the water's now flowing into the reservoir from the van out in the horse trail. Take a little while for that to fill up. I've got the filter system uncovered. You can see it's kind of a, I guess I would call it state-of-the-art filter system. At the front end is filter socks. The far pipe is water coming directly from the tank, passes through the filter sock, has to flow up over the tray through the bioballs into the reservoir here. You can see there's a pump in there that supplies water to that bin. That's the one that sends the dirty water out of the sump with the Genesis Renew. There's a hog algae scrubber from Santa Monica Filtration. Takes care of the nitrates real well. The water changes are what deal with the phosphates. The water in turn is drawn up by a water pump that sits outside behind this wall where there's a chiller and such as well, of which, by the way, the temperature here is at 66 degrees, and we need to adjust that down to 62 degrees for the Sea Nettles. That water in turn comes back from the chiller into the second sock, which then once again passes through the system. A portion of that water is tapped off and goes to back to the tank where I have a valve so I can control the flow in the tank. So the system has worked out real well, and in particular with the 100-gallon every 2-week water changes, or 6 1-gallon water changes every day. So let's go start acclimating our jellies and service the tank. So to service the tank, we're obviously on top of a ladder. This being the top of the tank here, that's the exit grid coming out of the tank. The water passes over this top portion of the tank, this being a sealed compartment where the water actually comes into the tank, and at this far end is an overflow with large PVC pipe at the bottom to try to muffle the water coming down there and yet not provide any massive amount of biological filtration. And so what we need to do is, with the gate valve, shut the system off. We'll then start putting water down there into the boxes, start acclimating the jellies, and we'll service the tank.
The cleaning of the jellyfish tank consists of starting at the top. I wipe the cover and exit grid area free of debris that have settled there previously. Next, I remove the cover to the sealed return pocket and wipe its insides not only free of debris, but of algae as well. It's then time to use the pad on the long pole to wipe down the inside of the rotation chamber portion of the tank. This involves using the rotation momentum of the water inside the tank to keep the moon jelly suspended so they're not sitting at the bottom, where I can then clean the bottom of the tank without having to bump into all the jellyfish.
So usually at some point in the service what I want to do is siphon debris off the bottom of the tank, and with a tank full of jellyfish that gets to be a little bit difficult. So I have a piece of PVC pipe with a hose barb fitting at the end, hook that up to my siphon hose, and I can go in and surgically siphon debris off the bottom of the tank.
Once again, it's very beneficial to use the rotation of the water in the tank to keep the jellies suspended. Keep in mind, jellyfish are similar to wet pieces of toilet paper and are damaged quite easily. So sucking up a jelly quickly will tear or destroy the jellyfish. With the jelly suspended in the water due to the rotation in the tank, it allows me to siphon the debris from the bottom of the tank, which decreases the chance that I'll be actually sucking up a jellyfish or destroying it.
Hi there, my name's Jim Stime and you know me as the LA Fish Guy. Well, I also wear a couple of other hats. One of them is the Jellyfish Tank called the Aquarium, and the third is myfishtank.com. I offer an entire line of acrylic aquariums ranging from rectangular to hexagon, flatback hex, as well as the custom curve front aquariums. There's also an entire line of stands and canopies ranging from MDF to pine to oak with a variety of different finishes available. And the website is even smart enough that you can calculate what the freight and crate charges to your location will be. That's myfishtank.com. Hello, my name's Jim Stime and I operate Aquarium Design, and I offer aquarium sales, installation, supplies, livestock, and aquarium maintenance in Thousand Oaks, Westlake Village, Agora Hills, Calabasas, and Malibu, California.
I specialize in custom aquariums ranging from freshwater, saltwater fish, living coral reef, and jellyfish display systems. I've been involved professionally and at many levels within the aquarium industry since 1987, and have been in business for myself since 1999. I've worked for many people, and some for over 20 years now. My team can provide you with a unique range of aquarium systems ranging from rectangular in-wall to freestanding cylinders, bow fronts, and custom curve shapes. Additionally, we can offer a variety of aquascapes such as an artificial coral insert, coral skeleton decorations, custom-made branching rock structures, and themed environments such as this Jules Verne version of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. With today's technology in energy-efficient DC water pumps and LED lighting, operating costs are much lower. We can automate many of the maintenance features such as water replenishment, water changes, lighting schedule, including moonlight lighting, and even your general daily feedings.
I can even install an app on your smartphone that will allow you to monitor, to be notified, to control, and view your aquarium anywhere in the world.
If you're looking for something truly unique, give me a call and let's discuss the possibilities of creating your aquatic dream. I'm knowledgeable, insured, and very reliable.
My name is Jim Stime, and you can reach me at 241-7140. I look forward to helping you achieve your aquatic dream. Okay, so we've got the 4 bags of sea nettles floating in the top of the tank for some direct temperature acclimation. We'll let them go here shortly. Okay, so the 100-gallon container is full. We can put the hose away back to the van. I'm now going to go ahead and change out the filter socks and get ready to release the jellyfish here shortly.
Using a pair of union fittings, I can unthread the plumbing lines that bring the dirty water from the tank and the recirculated water from the chiller and switch out the individual 200 micron filter socks that are used to trap out the food particles as well as debris. These socks are changed out weekly to minimize the amount of debris that enter the filter system, thus lessening the buildup of nutrients within the entire filter system. Along with the 6-gallon a day, 1-gallon water changes, which basically dilute the additional buildup of nutrients, I'm hoping to minimize the overall buildup of nutrients that collect in the system. At this point, between the hog algae scrubber and my water changes, I have virtually 0 nitrates in the system. In regards to phosphate, which is a little bit harder to control, my level consistently remains at 0.025.
So down here I'll change out that filter pad about every 2 months. I'll rotate it monthly, and then there's 2 bags of activated carbon in there. I'll change one of the bags alternately every month. Other than my 10-gallon water changes that I perform on Fridays when I service the tank, the Genesis unit does 6 gallons a day, so that's 60 gallons a week. In this case, actually it's 42 gallons a week, so a little less than 100 gallons every 2 weeks, which again I refill the container. So that helps take care of water quality. It'll be interesting now, since the new feeding for the more hungry or aggressive sea nettles will be a slight increase in the frozen baby brine shrimp that's fed daily, but at the same time we're also going to be shipping in chopped moon jellyfish, which is part of the diet of the sea nettles. So weekly there'll be a package of that arriving. I was told that the nettles will clean all that up, but that may also become part of my maintenance that needs to be done on Fridays when I show up. If not, the system, assuming it flushes it out, would flush that debris into the filter sock there where it would be trapped, and again I replace those every Friday as well. So the new sea nettles are still acclimating in the bags. If I wasn't real clear a little bit ago in regards to the feeding of the sea nettles, they feed as well as moon jellyfish on planktonic items, but they are predators and to a minor degree will seek out food, as opposed to the moon jellyfish who literally bumps into its food. The sea nettles, part of their diet, again in addition to the frozen baby brine shrimp that I pick up monthly, will feed on moon jellyfish. Now, we had some jellies in the tank. I removed the nice large ones, but unfortunately, and I feel bad about this, I had to sacrifice the smaller ones. Had I not taken them out of the tank, the moons would have eaten them, but being a solid mass, they would not have been effectively eaten, and it would have just been a blob floating in the tank. And so I was able to, let's just say, dice or shred those remaining moon jellyfish into a edible size particle for the sea nettles. So what we're going to do is, again, in addition to daily feedings of the frozen baby brine shrimp, we're going to have weekly a package of chopped moon jellyfish shipped in. The housekeeper will then take that package, mix it with some salt water from the tank, and then via a turkey baster introduce it into the tank. So the sea nettles once a week will be getting chopped moon jellyfish as well as daily feedings of frozen baby brine shrimp. I'm under the impression that as opposed to the moon jellyfish, which in general slowly just gets smaller, meaning there's something out there that we as hobbyists and probably public aquarists have yet to figure out with the moon jellyfish. Although ironically, the person who raises the tank raised moons raises them up to 6 inches, so why the rest of us can't maintain that size and they just shrink, I'm not real sure. I always thought it was water quality issues, hence the reason for the automated water change system, the hog algae scrubber. My levels of nitrate are pretty much 0. My level of phosphate is 0.25. It's the first number up on the scale that's above 0. So I consider that good water quality. But again, I've only been able to keep the moon jellyfish for about 6 months before they've gotten small enough that I would then go obtain another dozen to put into the tank. This tank I've been running for almost 6 years now. I've been told that the sea nettles are hardier and that I should actually anticipate them growing in size. These at the moment have bells that are about 4 inches with tentacles that are anywhere from 12 to 24 inches depending upon their feeding habits. And I'm expecting them, or been told that I should expect them, to grow. So again, I've been acclimating for about an hour now. We're going to start releasing them here shortly. We'll then adjust the flow and see how they swim in the tank. So one of the things that I do think is important to discuss at this point is, unlike moon jellies, which don't have much, if any, of a sting, sea nettles do have a sting. Their pneumatocysts, which are in the tentacles, can inject to a minor degree just a mild little zing, to a major degree a very significant wound into you. And those little pneumatocysts will come off and be all over the tank, the edge of the rim of the tank. If you get your arm in there, the tentacles can come across your arm. You can get in there the more you rub them. It could be a real significant issue. So be aware that sea nettles are venomous and you should be prepared. Now, yesterday when I picked them up, I was tossed a tentacle that landed on my hand. I never felt anything of any significance, so I was told not to really worry about it. The one thing that you probably don't want to do is yank your hand away if a tentacle gets on there while I'm in servicing the tank, but just kind of wiggle my hand a little bit and let it kind of fall off. Those of you who are very susceptible to it should potentially have something like vinegar or meat tenderizer if that pain continues to bother you. And in real severe cases, if needed, I think the phrase is anaphylactic shock, which you may end up having to go to the hospital. But that all depends on your susceptibility to it. Let's hope that I'm not very susceptible to it, because I'll have my hand in there every week trying to clean that. Of course, I'll try to avoid them, but you never know. So that is something to be aware of. So as I said, let's go ahead and finish up acclimating and get them introduced into the tank.
In the case of moon jellyfish, I usually acclimate them in a container outside the tank, where I allow them for a couple of hours to adjust to my tank's salinity as well as water temperature. In the case of these sea nettles, I was told to acclimate them inside the tank, where the temperatures of the water between the tank and the bag water would be much closer or more similar. I guess the sea nettles are a bit more sensitive to temperature situations. So by placing the bags in the tank, I've been allowing the water to enter the bags while floating them. And in turn, I'll be releasing them and their bag water directly into the aquarium.
So we just got the nettles released into the tank. We've just turned the flow on, waiting for the rotation of water to kind of start up. But you can see kind of how cool looking they are inside the tank. And we'll give it a little bit of time here to kind of clear out some of the debris and some of the pieces of the shredded moon jellies.
So So with the filter system
back up and running, we're going to go ahead and put the insulation back on top of it. The thermostat was reset for 62 degrees. It's currently running at 64, and in the next few hours it'll pull it down to 62. So the sea nettles are now in the tank, swimming around on their own. They're feeding on the particles of previous moon jellyfish in the tank. I have to admit, these are pretty cool looking, pretty dangerous looking, and I'm sure that as they acclimate to the system, the oral arms and tentacles will extend out and it'll look even much more impressive. But for now, I think there's a fairly good rotation inside the tank, and they seem to be doing well. So this will conclude this episode on the sea nettles for LA Fishguys. Thank you for coming around. Keep you posted as other jobs come up on occasion. Things have slowed down a little bit in the aquarium biz, at least for me anyhow, but that's okay. It's a nice casual pace. I do have 2 new jobs in the future. One is an overhaul of a 500-gallon reef tank that involves our friends Scott and Condi, and the other one has been in the works for a long time, and it's what I'll call the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea tank, featuring Captain Nemo's Nautilus and the Kraken in the form of a sculpture inside the tank. Until then, keep moving forward.